So it might seem like a basic, simple question, how do I breathe? And I suppose the truthful answer is there's a number of ways to breathe. And even if you don't try to breathe, the breathing still goes on. From our perspective, we're interested in how does breathing work, or how should it work in terms of practice. And even to be fair to it, it's not like I could explain it fully in detail in a quick 4-minute video. But I could lay down the pointers for it. And even then, one needs to understand that and continue to practice. Yeah? Now, if you divide the body really at the navel, yeah, then what you're looking at is a supportive structure leading up to the navel. Of course, the support continues up the spine, but that's deep at the core. But then above the navel, ideally is free. It's free to move, free to expand, through the ribs, upper abdomen, chest. So when I inhale, it must make the most of that. So we're looking for an optimal or efficient inhale, yeah, and equally so exhale. If you're doing the asana practice or the pranayamas or any of these, it's going to be the same modus operandi as such. I call it the blueprint of our breath. However, in the asana, it might be more one, inhale, exhale of even length. The pranayama refines it a little bit further, especially with the typical tradition having the exhale is double the length, okay? So when you have the exhale as double the length, then you really get to pay attention to the differences between the two, meaning inhale and exhale, and how exactly the exhale works. So on the inhale, I like to say, very simply, it's a case of 1, meaning my upper abdomen, plus 2, meaning my side ribs, plus 3, meaning my chest. So when I inhale, I can feel all 3 add together and not 1 or 2 be isolated. So it's not that I would breathe and part of it would get sucked back, which I can do, but it's not a recommended breath here. Okay? So rather I want to achieve sort of the optimal activity. When I start to inhale, there's the activity of my diaphragm and the pressure moves the upper abdomen. So I should feel that in your upper abdomen, but not bulging out, because the side ribs take over, almost stretch it to the side. Technically they're also pulling the diaphragm out, which causes it to reverse a bit. Okay, but if it's only the side ribs, then you would just have had a reverse diaphragm. So that's why I want to see soft, bouncy, not loose, not totally relaxed, because it couldn't be, but free, soft in the upper abdomen, moving sideways in the side ribs, and then filling your chest. So 1, plus 2, plus 3. Right? And that takes me to an optimal filling, and I'm making use of the thoracic body as such. Okay, abdominal to thoracic body. Now, to make that work optimally, you've got to have proper support in the pelvis, meaning pelvic floor, the abdominal wall, lower wall support. I call it the pelvic wall support in a way. Got to have good support there for this to be free. If down here is collapsed, or it seems like your breath has moved into your pubic bone, we know technically it hasn't, but the pressure has, then of course the breath itself is inefficient. So sometimes you see this belly breath, right, where it's really dropped down as far as the pubic bone, and that is technically it's a pressure drop, and you don't get to employ as much of your side ribs or chest as possible. So now I get to refine that via the exhale. So the first part of an exhale, because I've breathed 1 plus 2 plus 3, the first part would be just you let go. It's relaxing. The second part of the exhale would definitely be an activity there, what I was describing in a previous recording as Uddiyana. Okay, the zone of Uddiyana, you're using your lower abdomen, and look, I can draw it back. And then when I finish the end of that, I'll actually gather the pelvic floor, which I also described in another recording of Mula Bandha, okay? And then I would start the inhale. So the control of the pelvic floor, the control or draw back of the pelvic or lower abdominal wall at the start of my inhale then allows the 1, 2, 3 to build up. Then when I exhale, I let all that at the same time, not consecutively, 1, 2, 3, release. And it's purely relaxation as the elastic recoil comes back. And then I do a little bit of effort through my lower abdomen to complete the exhale. So this zone, this area, this activity is highly important and essential to the process. Now for you at home, to just start that off, you could just start with your fingers there and your thumb here, and you could try to work the breath that way. Feel your exhale going back where your fingers are. When you inhale, feel it move up through the thumbs. When you exhale, feel it release at the thumbs and feel the activity at your fingertips. Yeah, and just try to start with that, get familiar with that, because it's not as obvious or easy, or it shouldn't be taken for granted, because it requires a little bit of development. And then the more you sit with it and practice it, the more natural or instinctive it becomes. And then from there, there are plenty of opportunities to grow with that, and it gets very well established. Yeah, and that's where it would require definitely a little bit more direct contact, working in practice. Okay, and I would say it's essential for progressing with the pranayama, and even my own experience, it has been fabulous in terms of growing in the asana. And not only that, put those practices aside, there's another 20-something hours, maybe only 20 hours, but 20-something hours, depends on you. And how your respiratory system works becomes a lot more efficient in an automatic, autonomic manner. Okay? And that's from the direct experience. So, have fun with that.